I want to say a little bit about honoring your own rhythms. So maybe you've discovered for yourself that a lot of your experiences go in cycles or seasons. This became really evident for me a couple of years ago with a Facebook memory. And it might have taken a little bit of time for something to register, but I noticed that every March or April, I'm engaging in some kind of big undertaking. Like some of the most powerful, life-changing programs I've ever taken, I've taken in March or April. Some of the big life changes that I've made have happened in March, April timeframe. So I thought, well, that's really interesting that happens. And then I notice I get really introspective and reflective around the time of my birthday, which is in July, coming up in just a couple of weeks. So I always notice that same sort of pattern. I feel a real momentum going into the holidays. I always have a sense of wanting to finish strong. So something kind of gets perked up for me in the fall. And just like that, I notice like particular times when I am engaging in certain things. And maybe you notice something like that for yourself. And let me tell you why I think that's important, or why I'm even paying attention to that. So I had mentioned before that I'm really getting the message to rest and to play. I've been go, go, go and kind of pushing through since the beginning of the year. And here we are now at the end of June, and I'm feeling the need for a rest. And there's a part of me that feels like I should potentially be doing more. But there's something that becomes available for me because I've been paying attention to my own rhythms so often, and really so lovingly, that I feel I have a lot of space to give myself. Like, it's okay for me to take a break. I know it won't last forever. So I don't know if you chart your cycle as well, but that's another place where that's become really prevalent for me. So if you're a woman and you're cycling and you chart your cycle in any sort of way, you may notice a few things, right? There's that place where our hormones, our estrogen levels spike right after we have a cycle, or when we start, right? Estrogen starts coming back into the body and we feel sort of naturally more confident and outgoing and energized. Whereas closer to that time of ovulation, a couple of weeks later, we have that influx of progesterone that makes us a little more foggy-headed and hermity, like you just kind of want to hermit up and relax, and you might feel, your physicality feels different, and how you want to show up in the world feels a little bit different based on the hormones that you're experiencing. And that's been really helpful for me too, to just kind of notice that it's cyclical, it comes, it goes, and there's a sort of predictability to it that I can rely on, I can count on, I can schedule around if I want to. There are certain things in my life or my business that I know I'm more likely to want to do if it hits around the time when my estrogen is high. I'm more likely to want to make videos or create content or show up for a speaking engagement or something like that. Whereas the other point in my cycle where my progesterone's a little higher, I can focus more in depth. I have more capacity to work on sort of mundane, in-depth projects. So that's good to know, right? And I say all that because I'm looking right now at my own rhythms and what I need and how I'm going to honor that. And I think it's a really valuable conversation. Do you know what your rhythms are? What are they? Are you honoring them? Or do you feel that you should be this way all the time? And then you're critical of yourself when you're not. Nobody's motivated all the time. Nobody's upbeat and engaging all the time. Nobody's down and hopeless all the time. Like, the one thing we can know for sure is that everything ebbs and flows and changes. And I'd be willing to bet that there's a predictability to your particular cycles and seasons and rhythms. And it might be really insightful to take note of those. So that's what I've got for today, is like permission to honor your rhythms, whatever those look like. And I will drop a couple of resources in here that might support you in getting insight into what your rhythms are, so that you can begin to use that information in really supportive ways for yourself. All right, see you next time.